Michelle with Pink and Maine. Thanks so much for joining me today. We're going to be opening day number 9 of our 2025 Advent calendar, and I can't wait. I'm also going to make a quick little card with you. So let's jump in and let's get started. All right, before we get a little crafty, let's go ahead and open up day number 9 because we all can't wait to see what's inside. Oh, fun. We've got a pack of foilables. So for all our foiling friends who love to foil, we have a pack of foilables. Let's pull them out and let's take a look at them. Please note, if you don't foil or don't do our type of foiling, it's okay. You can use these as they are as printed papers. So we've got the positive and negative of this fun little squiggly loopy line design. We've got the positive and negative of these little scallop lines. Super fun. And then I'm giving you 2 color toner sheets. So these are color foilables, and what you're going to do is you're going to foil one of these, and then you're going to take your negative foil and you're going to add it to a colored toner sheet. So you have foil and then color in the background. Super fun. Those are our foilables for day number 9. As I mentioned, we're going to make a fun little card here tonight. So I've got everything cut out and ready to go. And I thought I'd do a little coloring with you. I've never done coloring on a video, so let's give it a shot, right? I'm just going to do my coloring on top of our low-tack crafty mat. I'm just going to turn it over to the back. I just want something under my paper so that when the marker bleeds through, it won't go onto my table surface. I'm going to be using my favorite alcohol markers, and that is the Olo markers, and I'll tell you which colors I use. We're going to color our sunflower. Now, I normally color and then die cut my images. It's personal preference. If you prefer to die cut and then color like we're doing tonight, that's fine too. I just like to have a bigger paper around, but this is going to work fine. We're going to do the sunflower, and it's already die cut with the die that we got in one of the days of the Advent calendar. So let's get started. I'm going to do the stem and the leaves first, and I tried to pull some greens that I thought were in the papers that we're using. So I've got YG 8.3, 8.5, and 8.7. And I do my own thing when I'm coloring. So I have the lightest color, which is YG 8.3. And I'm just going to kind of go around the edges of my image. This is just with the lightest color. I'm just laying down some color on my image. And what makes alcohol markers blend is having a nice ink saturation in your paper. So now I've got the medium 8.5, YG 8.5, and I'm just going in and adding a couple of just little areas where I want a little more, little darker color kind of around the edge of that leaf and going up the middle where it kind of has that variegated or seam. And a lot of times I color with like a flicking motion. You flick from the outside of the image in towards the middle. So there we have our leaves so far. Now I'm not going to go to my darkest color yet. I like to go back in with my lighter tone and then blend that medium tone into the center of my leaf. I'm just going around the entire leaf, even where I colored before with the lighter tone. We're just saturating that paper with the ink, which helps to blend those colors really easily. So I really don't want the leaves too much darker than what I have here with these two colors, but adding a third really dark tone to it can really make the colors pop, and I'll show you that in a second. I'm going to go over the stem again, and I just had added a couple of little dark areas with that medium color. So see, we're starting to get a nice blend there. And I move my image around a lot when I'm coloring too, because you always, wherever you easily can flick the marker, you can turn your paper to that direction to make the coloring easy. So now I've got my medium and my light tones all nicely blended together. I'll see if I can, I've got it about as focused in as I can. So there we go. So now I'm going to take my dark color and we're just going to make the shading kind of pop a little bit. So I'm just going to go in and flick a little bit of that dark color where there might be the darkest shadows, and I'm not using much of it at all. A little bit at the tip of the leaf, maybe coming around this bottom edge. I'm going to get a little bit on the stem, just here and there. Again, just where, oops, I'm off the screen a tad. So see, I've just got that dark just in a few areas, the tips of the leaves, underneath the flower leaf petals, I should say, where they might cast a shadow on the leaf. And now I'm going to take my lightest color again, and I'm just going to blend all around that leaf again. I'm just going to, it'll pull some of that darker color into the leaf and just blend it out a little bit. I'll blend the stem. And I'm using one of my favorite papers to color with my Olos, and it's Express It alcohol blending cardstock. It's a nice, it's a between 65 and 80 pound cardstock. It has a nice weight to it. I can't remember exactly what it is. Super, super smooth. It does bleed through, but I always say, you know what? When my coloring looks almost as good on the back as it does on the front, you know those markers are doing their job and the colors are blending nicely. See there? That's the back and on the front. So I think we've got a nice good blend for the leaves and the stem. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the center of the sunflower first. And I've got O 4.3 and O 4.6. And these are a couple of my favorite browns to use. And when I'm coloring, you'll see all the markers I'm going to use are laying here. They are actually open. I have all the caps open on them, and they'll be fine if I'm coloring for a while. You leave them open so you're not constantly like capping and sucking that lid back off. It creates a lot of suction when you do that, and you pull more ink into the nib. So I open my markers once and I leave them open while I'm coloring, even if I'm not using that color for a bit. I lay the lid on them loosely, but I'm not snapping it closed. So I'm going to take the lightest 4.3 that I'm going to be using, and I'm just using two browns for the center. Sometimes you can get a nice color blend with just one color. You just layer it around your edges and then blend it in lightly to the middle. So you can blend with 2 colors, 3 colors, 4 colors. You can get as much color as you want in there, but you can do blending with even just one color. So I've gone around the edges with my lighter color, and then I'm just going right over those edges again with my darker. And then I'm going to go back to my light. Mine's squeaking because this one's starting to dry up a little bit. And for my Ola markers, I have the same color on each end. They're both brush markers, but I use them so much that I find just having the same color on each end really helps me. So if one is starting to dry up a bit, I can open up the other end and use that. And sometimes I'll keep my dry ones on here for a while because there are some times when a little bit less color, like a dry marker, you can get a nice soft, really soft look. So I end up using like all the ink that's inside the marker. So I apologize about the squeaking, but that's just because my marker's a little bit dry. But it's okay, we're getting a nice blend anyway. So there we have center of our flower. We've got darker here in the bottom where there would be a little bit more shadow, and then lighter here at the top. All right, next up we're going to do our sunflower petals. And I've got 4 different colors to play around with to do that. When I'm doing yellow, I kind of pull a variety, especially for something like a sunflower. They can have a little bit like a darker, almost orange tone to it. So I've got Y 1.2, Y 2.3, YO 2.3, and YO 2.5. The YOs are going to bring a little bit more orange tone into my yellow. So again, I'm going to start with my lightest, and when I do flowers like this with the petals, I just start at the center and I do like a flicking motion out towards the edge of the petals. So there we go. I've started with just the lightest yellow that I have. I'm going to go with the next, which is Y 2.3. And then I'm just going to, again, go right over where I did my first color. I'm just going right over it and just flicking my color out from the center of the flower onto those petals. Looking good, looking good. Now I want to go in with my YO, and I want to bring a little bit of that darker orange color. And we're squeaking just a bit again. I've got some dry markers. I tell you, I use them a lot. They will last you a good long time. But I use mine quite a bit. Okay, so I got a little bit more of that orange tone in there. So I'm going to go back now with my lightest yellow Y1.2, and then I'm going to go from the tip of the marker, or the tip of the petal, and blend those colors back towards the center of the flower. This way I'm coloring the tip of each petal and kind of blending it towards the center of the flower. So it blends all those yellow colors together. Okay, so now with our flower, I've got my YO 2.5. That's my darkest color. So I want to be careful adding it, but I do want just some tiny striations of this darker color in my petals, because this really gives the flower petals some depth. Just little flicks of this darker color. You don't want to get too much because you don't want your entire petal to be this dark color, but this, it really adds to the shading and depth of the flower there, adding that dark color at the end. So if I want to blend some of those out so you don't see as much of my flicking, and we just want to blend that dark color out just a little bit with the other yellows, I'm just going to take my lightest color and I'm just going to blend it out a bit. So I'm just coloring all the petals again, flicking out from the center of the flower towards the tip of the petal with my light color, and it's just to blend that dark color out just a tad. So you still see it there, it's still adding depth, but you can't see all my little brush strokes or my flicking strokes there. All right. And there's our pretty sunflower. Not too difficult, right? Okay, so now we're going to put our card together. I'm actually just going to do the card front, and then it'll be ready to glue onto my card. Let's zoom out just a little bit so you can see everything. So I've got just one of our card front panels, the plaid. I liked it because it had a lot of yellow and some green in it. I've taken our little zigzag square die and I've cut out this nice green that's going to go on here. So let me grab some glue and we'll glue that down. Just going to center that up on the top portion of my card panel. Then I cut out the coordinating square die just with white cardstock. So I'm going to glue that down to the center. Now I've got one of those fun little marker spots die cut pieces, and we're going to put this in the corner of the square there. Just kind of add some extra color and a place for our sunflower to live. But I think I'd like to pop the sunflower and the sentiment up with some foam tape. So I've got my roll of foam tape. Add some to our sunflower, and see again, I love to look at the back of my coloring, so I see if it looks really nice on the back, and usually it looks good on the front too. Don't be afraid if your markers blend through your paper. That's why you don't want to color right onto your card base, because you could bleed through and you can see it on the inside of your card. I always use like a layering piece. All right, so I'm going to put my sunflower just popped there on that little spot. See how nicely that looks? And then I'm going to put my sentiment just down at the bottom. And I cut the sentiment with one of those dies that came in the package with the square and the little zigzag square. So the little flag end die fit the sentiments. There's a quick little card. Cute. Thanks again so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the card I created. Short, simple, and sweet. And I hope you enjoyed what's in day number 9. Join me again tomorrow for day 10. Until then, keep living the creative life.